episode 10. Welcome to the show, the QCI show. Big day today, first day of the Ryder Cup. What do you think of my outfit, Chase?
I actually like the shirt, but again, you're like the jet blue of podcast hosts. Perpetually 20 minutes late and don't know how to operate the machine you're supposed to operate.
First off, I was on time. Second off, yes, I don't know what's going on today. Don't know how to record. But we got a lot to talk about today, but we'll kick things off with a couple of different things. So one, we talked about my outfit. Obviously, I take pride in my outfits. Maybe not every week. We'll have Justin pull up a screenshot here. As soon as the episode was published last week, right on time. As soon as it was, I got an Instagram message from my wife that just said, we need to wear better shirts on these days. Well, hopefully today is better.
That's a good shirt. Was this the first time Molly listened?
No, I don't even think she really listened. She probably just saw us quickly on Instagram, was like, you look like trash, and then didn't listen.
Jess listened to her first episode, and she basically was like, it wasn't as bad as I thought, which I thought was a huge win.
Okay.
And then she was like, it really seems like you and Greg know each other. I'm like, well, we do.
Okay. And anything else about the content?
You've been in our lives for a while, so
that we talk about. I appreciate that. So we got some good feedback from the wives. One more thing before we kick off. Today is day one of the Ryder Cup. I woke up this morning to friend of the pod, Sean Hawthorne of Foxfield Boston Commercial Real Estate Fund. A couple of photos Justin will throw in. He looks incredible sitting there on the first tee, and then a picture of the golf. I know that he's also with Pat Mulvihill, Boston Properties, and a handful of other guys. Thanks for the invite this year, fellas. But somebody's got to film the show.
Sean's looking great. Sean's looking good. See, you should talk to him about wardrobe. He's looking strong in that picture.
Oh, that's going to go right to his head. We'll get him on the show too. Maybe we'll do some live reporting. All right, before we get started, Strata, Chase, we talked about it. The event is coming up October 16th. Little plug here. We did some big announcements. What are you most excited about? It's like 3 weeks out, 4 weeks out.
Well, I'm very excited to have Travis Kalanick, former Uber co-founder and CEO, and now the CEO of, most people are familiar with Cloud Kitchens, but it's a company called City Storage Systems that has a few different entities under it. So he's going to be talking about all things automation of critical city components. Obviously, they tackled transportation with Uber. He's built a quiet monster in food. Verticalized food is kind of how I would explain it. Everything from the real estate on up through delivery to the end consumer. And he's a very smart and opinionated guy about commercial real estate. So I think the crowd's going to be in for a treat there. And I'm also very excited. It has been a while since we connected with our buddy Joe Pine. We talk about Joe a lot on this show. Joe is the author of the famous book, The Experience Economy. He has taught classes at a number of top-tier universities on the experience economy. I believe Joe has continued to evolve his thinking from experience all the way through transformation, how companies and industries need to transform. I don't think there's a more timely and fitting narrative for the commercial real estate industry and the intersection, obviously, with AI than hearing from those two guys. But we got a lot of killer speakers lined up. So I think it's like picking a favorite child. I'm excited for the full day.
Love that. My little addition there is just we got some really good folks coming in from Dubai actually to talk about. So we talk about quantum cities a bunch. Obviously, we had a section on Dubai in the show talking about what they're doing with digital infrastructure, physical infrastructure, and AI, and we got some really cool developers coming in. So that's going to be good. Sign up, and we do have a reception that Boston Properties is co-hosting with us October 15th. Hopefully, you can come to the conference. Obviously, on the 16th. If you can't come to the conference, come to the VIP reception. If you can't come to the VIP reception, come to the conference, whatever it may be. It's going to be a really good couple of days of networking here in Boston. Okay, on to the show. So we are going to switch things up a little bit this week because our format, feedback from the readers was our quick hits were longer than our full sections. And so there was really no rhyme or reason to what we were doing. We were just talking. So, that's probably not going to change, but we're going to try to organize it a little bit. So we're going to start with commercial real estate. Go through news, go through deals, go through transactions. Then we're going to go through the AI section, a little bit more on technology, and then we'll go to quantum, and then everybody's favorite section, one more bit of news. And we got a lot to talk about. So number one, CRE section. A lot of action this week, starting it out with RXR, closing on a $3.5 billion fund, all focused around office in NYC. Some of the quotes, some of their thesis, buy low, sell high. What do you make of this, Chase?
In terms of buying low and selling high, that sounds pretty good. That sounds pretty good.
Okay, so fine. More capital markets, more money coming in. I mean, honestly, I saw RXR and $3.5 billion. I was like, this isn't super huge news, but to me, it is focused on the top of the market. RXR predominantly focuses in New York. We know that they're just going to be throwing more money. Interest rates are coming down. We're going to have a good 26 and 27.
I think this is a huge signal. RXR launched the Gemini Office Venture, which is their new office platform focused on New York City offices. They've already deployed $3.5 billion in capital. Investors include Baupost and King Street. Scott Reckler, who is the CEO over at RXR, he and the team over there made a killing after the great financial crisis when they ran the same playbook of what you said, buy low, sell high. Reckler, I believe it was on Bloomberg, said they're buying properties and good properties at as much of a 50% discount. So I think this is a really strong signal. Obviously, we talked about this last week. The 4 to 12 quarters at the beginning of the next cycle is where the returns get made. RXR is pretty far along kind of the experiential curve in how they think about positioning assets for, what tenants are looking for. And Reckler's a monster. They're doing a lot. Shout out to our buddy Dave Geis over there, who's working on AI and all things amenities and experience. They've got a great team. So really good signal, I think, for the office market in New York City. And I think a bunch of others will follow suit, which is good.
Speaking of others following suit, another large transaction this week, Rhythm Capital bought Paramount for $1.6 billion, really shifting their global assets into commercial real estate. The REIT was kind of mixed on the news. It represented about a 10% discount to the stock's last closing price at $6.60 per share. So there appears to be some distressed assets in Paramount's portfolio. That's how I read that. But again, love seeing an influx of capital coming into, obviously, this is a predominantly New York City, Manhattan based. But good news, transactions are picking up.
Yeah, and I think Rhythm was up 3%. So yeah, I think, look, this is the experience gap in play, right? Paramount historically had very high rental rates. Obviously, there was some trouble brewing over there with some folks. But I think, they own pretty good guts of buildings in good locations. They're pretty much in New York and San Francisco, if I remember correctly. So 2 markets that are seeing leasing make a comeback. I'm sure there's some repositioning that needs to happen to kind of meet the demands of today. But at $1.6 billion, when you look at I think it's 12 to 13 assets, about 12 to 13 million square feet. These are the types of assets that, with the right kind of capital injection, can be positioned well for a really good run.
Love that. So one of the things that we've consistently talked about with commercial real estate, sort of in the GFC and so on, is it too big to fail? Now, that's right. That was a great movie, and the tagline of the GFC. And what I mean by that is the largest taxpayers in any specific city is commercial real estate. So what does that mean? So if Boston Properties and Paramount and these folks do not pay their taxes on their value, on their assets, then schools, police, fire, all are going to be impacted. Well, that impact is starting to be felt. So office properties we know are in decline. They were hit. New York alone lost $30 billion in assessed asset values in the last 4 years, which is big. That decline translated to $1.2 billion in shortfall for New York City's tax receipts. 90% of that shortfall coming from commercial real estate. DC projections, tax receipts falling 10% in 2025, 12% in 2026. Boston, which is getting hit, and I think Boston Properties is the largest taxpayer to the city of Boston, is getting hit by apparently or forecasted 1.7 billion in cumulative revenue loss over the next 5 years, or over the 5-year period, which includes COVID. What's your take on this? So this is Quantum City, this is digital infrastructure, this is physical infrastructure. Are we in trouble here? What's going to happen?
Yeah, I mean, if they don't take action, a bunch of these cities will be in trouble. And so I think the strategy for a number of cities has been hope, and hope isn't a strategy. So, you're looking at a tax revenue shortfall if you do nothing. So I would much rather see these cities, and if I were in the room with a number of these city officials, I'd be on the front foot trying to play offense. If you can think through smart ways to provide tax credits, get a lot of these groups that have been, facing some struggles from investors to get the needed capital injections to reposition properties. I would rather take the tax revenue shortfall by providing credits and get jobs rolling, get people repositioning assets, investing in the infrastructure, because doing nothing and waiting, I don't think is a viable strategy. And so I'd rather get, the local economy revving and get people building for the future. So
yeah, and well, a couple of calls which we talked about last week. So Sacramento, California wanted to introduce a tax to vacant spaces. So in response to this, they're considering adding additional taxes. New York City just vetoed its third casino this past week. We talked about the 2 other casinos last week. Gambling, we know, represents a massive tax or revenue generator for a specific city. So when you talk about local, those are areas. It looks like people are trying. New York City might be going the other way by shutting those down. Now, NIMBYism, like you talked about, we don't want casinos, but interest rates are coming down. And if the interest rates do continue to come down, will we see the enterprise value of these assets start to increase? And so is this just a waiting game? Is this just paper marks of the taxes?
So if the Fed's overnight rate comes down, typically historically lending rates and those things tend to follow. I was reading, I think it was the Journal, that was saying that there is a little bit of an odd trend and a bifurcation where lenders are still nervous about tariffs. They're nervous about soft job numbers. I think everybody's kind of in a wait and see mode on total impacts of AI over the next few years. And the Journal's assessment was that commercial real estate should see more refinancings necessarily than kind of net new, but at least some more opportunity for refinancings, more so than the average consumer that's looking to refinance a loan. So for commercial, I think this, it should be a good thing, right? It certainly can't hurt. But again, it's probably not enough, particularly for cities. Each building and each portfolio is different, so you can't really be judging too much on the macro, as we're seeing between an RXR, Vornado, or an SL Green compared to Paramount, right? But I do think that this will be particularly helpful to the commercial real estate refinancings, and as we've talked about, the folks over at TREP and some of the folks that provide CMBS data, there is a pretty big wall of commercial debt that needs to get worked out in terms of what the cost of capital is. So hopefully we see this helping out.
Yeah, I mean, this is a big issue. This isn't a real estate problem. Obviously, this is a problem that's going to hit home for a lot of folks um, in some of the large cities here. One city
Well,
that we
we
don't.
had there's been a lot of chatter this week from, Ray Dalio made the
Yeah,
prediction, and he's been at this for a while, and he talks very much at a global macro level on the US debt situation, and he talked a lot about the UK's debt situation. And he's got kind of these 5 confluence of factors where he thinks in the next 2 to 5 years there's going to be substantial disruption to the American economy because of the debt situation, because of AI, because of internal division between political parties, external geopolitical risks, all this stuff. He also talks about natural disasters and climate. So I think there's, it's still just a choppy time. Jamie Dimon was on the news talking about the
yeah,
debt situation. Dalio at least had some advice for the individual consumer on how to handle their money and to get to places where you can be liquid and essentially safe. Diamond mostly said we need to grow our way out of the problem, which I didn't
like
think
that.
was a new helpful tidbit. I think a lot of people have thought about that. This is obviously what Reagan and Volcker kind of stuck the landing on in the 80s. But I think,
That's
Diamond's
also
point was we need to embrace trade rather than tariff trade. So he diverted from the Trump administration on that one a bit.
yeah, but Trump and Bessent and those guys, that their take on growing our way out of our deficit was by tariffs. Raise the
Right.
top line.
And Diamond disagrees. He says tariff revenue is not going to do it.
Well, it's scaring our consumers too. Um, One city that we don't talk about a ton, Chicago. Chicago's coming back. They're leading in office traffic recovery. Chicago downtown saw office visits rise 12% year over year in August. The way I've been to Chicago, the way I see this is it's a law of small numbers. There was nobody at
Can't
all.
fall off the floor. Dude, downtown
Nobody.
Chicago has been depressing the last time I went. Oh
So,
my goodness. Yeah,
12%.
12.5% of zero is still zero.
There we go. Nice. Good burn. Chicago's a beautiful city.
I love Chicago when people are there. It's a
When
ghost town.
people
It's
are
a
there.
little spooky.
It's a ghost town. But hey, we're coming back. Even Chicago's coming back. We're here. Come on. This is
Still, traffic remains down 45% compared to August 2019 in the show.
well, 0 to 1. That's a big increase.
Hey, you got to start somewhere, and Chicago really is. It's a critically important city in the middle of the country. So hopefully, we see this continue to go up.
Speaking of interesting trends, Nuveen is launching a $3 billion fund, similar but not similar to RXR. Nuveen's focus on farmland. Man, what's your take on this? Love this. You at one point wanted to be a farmer, right? That was a couple of years ago.
Will do.
I don't know what you still do. Okay, I don't know what happened to that dream.
Working
What's
on it,
your
man.
take? What's your take on investing in America's farmland here?
I'm not as dangerous on farms as I would like to be. I did watch, I forget if it was Netflix or what, but there's a really fascinating documentary about how China was buying up a lot of our farmland. Obviously, Bill Gates apparently has bought a ton of farmland, which anytime Lex Luthor is doing something that makes me nervous. Bill apparently owns a ton of farmland, but I do think there's probably some encouragement for American farms to be owned by an American investment vehicle. So that's good. And I think that Bill's obviously smart, and there's probably something to this. So they're going the opposite of quantum cities. Obviously, Nuveen does a lot in different asset classes, but $3 billion for private farmland. Interesting one for us to track over the next year.
I like the farm investments. Big fan. Row crops. I'm interested to see. One of the things that scare me about it is who's the guy in All In who's got the new crop startup. What's his name again?
Jason Freeberg.
Freeberg. So that stuff kind of scares me a little bit. I like the investing in the farmland. There's so much crap in the food that we eat, but let's not over engineer it now to yield more crops. But I'm all about it. It's good. We need more product. We need more yield here. RexU this week, sub under commercial real estate. We've talked about mixed use. We've talked about the importance of experiential. This one's pretty exciting. Beverly Hills is investing, or one Beverly Hills is being invested in a 18-acre parcel built by Kane International and the Oko Group. It's a $10 billion mixed-use development, which is going to have resi. It's going to have designer retail. It's going to have gardens, 10 acres of garden space right in the middle of LA. We've talked about surf farms. We've talked about quarterbacks getting into mixed use. We've talked about the rise of the sort of stadium in mixed use. What's your take on all the experiential focus here? And is this just a Beverly Hills mall? Is this just a mall?
Well, apparently occupancy, you can't get space on Rodeo Drive.
Rodeo?
And this is apparently the gateway to the affluence and luxury of Beverly Hills, as they're projecting it. 10 billion in the ground is a massive development. I was surprised that there even was an 18-acre parcel available. I think they're renovating the Beverly Hills hotel, historic hotel. So they're going to do a bunch with that. It's apparently 40% pre-committed from a lease perspective by Dolce and Gabbana.
And rents, this is outrageous. So rents on Rodeo Drive are over $1,000 a foot, which is absolutely bananas. And then the condos are being marketed from 20 to 40 million per condo.
So yeah, I mean, it's fascinating to see that California continues to California. So this is not really going to help with affordable housing. So, but hey, let's put 10 billion into build out this new experiential spotlight. Look, we need both. I like the angle that they're going here for, which is insular to the Beverly Hills community. They say that Rodeo Drive is too touristy. So you wouldn't want to interface with those commoners too much. So this will, odds are likely that it'll be a moneymaker, is my guess.
Yeah, I mean, what really caught my eye is just the way that they kept mentioning the word experience everywhere across the article. So, to me, this isn't really anything new. It's a mixed use. It's high end retail, coupled with high end residential. But they just kept saying this is not just going to be a shopping center, whatever it may be. It is going to be an experience. An experience, if you have a shit ton of money, is what it's going to be.
Well, and one call out here is, if anyone has not, I wouldn't even recommend reading it. I would recommend listening to McConaughey's old book, Green Lights. He's got a great story about how he essentially lived in the Beverly Hills hotel for a year. And he reads, the reason I say listen to it rather than read is he does the voiceover of the book. It's amazing.
I think that was one of the 2 times he got arrested. That was early on in his career. It was
he got arrested in Austin after.
I remember that one.
Yeah. He went on a bender after the Texan Texas Longhorns beat number 1 Nebraska on a Saturday. He said he kind of came to Monday morning and was arrested. It's a great book.
Good for him. For him. I actually just listened to him. I think it was on Rogan's podcast. It was good. He's got another book coming out. Poetry. All right, let's jump to AI this week. A lot of action for AI this week. One of the things that's just terrifying me about AI, and never mind how we use it and all of that, is all of these companies, OpenAI, Oracle, SoftBank, Microsoft, Nvidia, it feels like they're just sitting in a circle and they're just passing $1 billion in ARR to each other.
No, 100 billion. Round tripping,
Sorry.
as they call it. They're round tripping the revenue, man. Don't ask questions. Don't ask questions. It's not a big deal
I'm going to
that
give you 100
Nvidia
billion.
puts 100 billion into OpenAI. OpenAI uses Oracle. Oracle uses Nvidia. Don't ask questions. It's called
I,
round tripping.
I love this.
Get with the times, pal.
To me, I just like, if this was such a great, well-known strategy, what the hell have we been doing? Why don't we have a partner who's just giving us 100 million in ARR? We'll give them 100 million in ARR. Let's just trade. Let's just move that money right around.
As we talked about last week, not all of us can be Larry Ellison, you know?
That's true. Okay, so I guess on a more serious note, that was a serious take. They're all just passing the hot potato and round tripping. The data center revolution. Again, we've talked about this at length. What does this mean? Are we really going to see? I mean, we know that there's massive energy issues with data center. Eric Schmidt said that, what was it, 99% of energy we would need, all 99% of current energy to power the majority of this infrastructure. But now with all this money getting invested, where is this infrastructure going to go? Is it going to be in my backyard? By the way, there is actually something going on in my backyard in Duxbury. They're fighting over a lithium plant, a battery plant. Anyways, so speaking of infrastructure, what is going to happen? Where's this infrastructure going to go? Is it going to be on the deserts? Where is it all happening?
Well, certainly from the announcement, it's not going to be in your backyard. They said the data centers will be across Texas, New Mexico, Ohio, and
For now,
broadly the Midwest.
for now.
So I don't think the South Shore of Massachusetts, unfortunately, is well positioned to get in on that gold rush.
Unless you and I throw a little data center in.
Right. We'll talk offline on that. Actually, we can talk online. See if any of our listeners want to get in on the party and get into the round tripping game. So, what's fascinating about this whole journey is that you remember, God, it doesn't even feel. The Trump administration has been in office for 9 months, and they came out of the gates firing, and they had Sun from SoftBank. They had Sam Altman from OpenAI, Larry Ellison from Oracle. They did this big announcement, and originally SoftBank said, "Hey, we're going to put 100 billion into the U.S." And then Sun said it's 200 billion, and then they came out and said it was going to be 500 billion. Elon tweeted that they didn't have the money, all this stuff. So the plan here, as I understand it, is that it's going to be 400 billion in the next 3 years to build these out. That puts them apparently on track to hit that 500 billion. But the Journal reported on this and said the planned development in Abilene, Texas alone could hit $1 trillion. And that's a trillion with a T. So that's the same as the GDP of a number of major countries. That is not a typo. Apparently, there's already something like 6,000 workers now commuting to the Abilene development. And just so people understand, this facility requires 900 megawatts of electricity. And that's roughly the amount that could power hundreds of thousands of homes. It's almost one gigawatt. So this is just a monster of a development. So I think everybody in commercial real estate, not everybody, but a lot of people are going to do what they do, which was everybody ran after lab, everybody ran after industrial, and we've seen those leasing numbers have softened in 2025. I think a ton of people are going to run into data center, and it's going to be the Pareto principle, 80-20. I think 80% of the returns are going to go to the top 20% of people that really know this business. And I do think in 3 to 5 years, some people are probably going to get burned.
To me, though, this is very different than people flooding into and just following the trends, flooding into lab and, quote unquote industrial, because you're effectively creating new cities here, just around a data center, right? Like, so there needs to be housing. perhaps, or you need to be able to commute in, like you said, several thousand employees, and then the job creation. Now we've talked about AI job losses, and you could be much more efficient. And so, if companies, with 1,000 employees, can get the job done with 800 nowadays, there's 200 sort of jobs lost. There's thousands and hundreds of thousands, perhaps millions of jobs that will be created to work in these data centers. So it's not like I'm just putting in a box, putting in a lab space, and then a tenant's going to come in, right? This is a massive impact in job growth where we have some troubling jobs numbers still today.
Yeah, I think though, look, I'll continue to kind of hit the Luddite fallacy of every new technology wave, everyone thinks we're going to stop working. I don't believe that AI is going to permanently remove jobs. I'm not with Ari Emanuel that we're all going to be working 2 to 3 days a week while our robot folds our laundry. It might be folding our laundry, but I think the jobs are going to shift again.
Mhm.
We saw a lot of jobs shift up into knowledge work over the last few decades. And obviously, AI is impacting knowledge work substantially. But I spoke at an MIT class last week, and one of the topics that the group was talking about, and one of the other presenters was saying how the average electrician, and there's apparently a very significant shortage of electricians, makes $300,000 annually per year. So I think we've over rotated. We're going to need a lot of people that can do things in the real world, in the physical world, where robots and AI are either going to support jobs or not really be super relevant. And so I think that's what you're seeing with data center. And even though some investors are probably going to get burned in the data center gold rush, or excuse me, AI factory gold rush, I do think there's going to be a lot of ancillary benefits to exactly what you're saying in terms of infrastructure development, job creation, housing creation, and things like that.
Speaking of job creation, so pretty slick little transition there. So AI is fueling PropTech as a whole. So we're in PropTech. I hate the word PropTech or two-word PropTech. Can't
I
stand it.
love it.
Don't like it.
Love it.
Hate it.
Love it.
Don't like it. Like CreTech. Shout
I
out.
do like shout out Beckerman. Love
Shout
Beckerman.
out Ackerman. Like CreTech. Hate PropTech. So billions of dollars went into PropTech. Obviously, pre-COVID, PropTech was sort of the new, it was the hot girl at the party, was sort of the new shiny object. Great. Obviously, those numbers went down significantly when we were not in a ZERP environment. However, PropTech investing is back, according to JLL Spark. Shout out JLL Spark. We were on a panel together at Blueprint. But I felt that last week at Blueprint too, and I could see it now. There's a lot of larger transactions happening in PropTech. What would be nice is if we start to get some consolidation, some M&A in the space. And again, this was the topic. We talked about this last week. This was the topic. When are we going to see large $100 million transactions and investments in PropTech? Elise AI just had one. But what's your take? 26? Are we back? We're booming?
I think prop tech, like all of tech, follows the macro similarly, right? So when you look at broader venture capital trends, this is tracking, I would say, pretty much 1-to-1, or at least close to 1-to-1 with the broader technology investment trends. I think you said it's 20 to 50% of investment pipeline is for AI startups. I think we will see a lot of substantial gains across commercial real estate from a adoption perspective, like we saw in the last prop tech cycle. And venture is, it's a high failure rate game. So for people in commercial real estate, it's different. It's very much different portfolio construction than commercial real estate. Commercial real estate, obviously, you need to have a higher success rate across properties in a portfolio. You really don't want to bank on any property going bust. Venture is very different in the sense that it's Babe Ruth baseball. So the best performing venture firms have one investment that can return the size of the fund. And so they swing very hard. They have, frankly, they want failure. They don't want 1x, 2x, 3x, 4x returns. They need 10x or above, which I think is where a lot of traditional commercial real estate groups investing in prop tech really have the wrong strategy if they're focused on it from a return perspective. If they're focused on it from an R&D perspective and learning and all that, that's fine. But even there, you're gonna have to take a certain amount of write-off and failure rate. So I do think that this is the missing piece to really start to see, that ROI from technology platforms really meaningfully hit kind of the NOI line in commercial real estate. But there's going to have to be programs for change management and how they, ultimately internalize these technologies. It's not just you flip a switch and your business is going to be run effectively. And when you look at some of the winners, Elise AI raising 250 million from, I believe it was Andreessen that participated in that, and then Strata doing a 200 million deal with Blackstone. These are companies that this was not overnight success. I know Minna over at Elise AI, she's a stud CEO. Entrada's been at it for a while. So, it's a game that takes some time to really build something that works for this vertical industry.
I like that. So AI is obviously hot right now, both creating jobs, but here's to losing jobs. Accenture just straight up said, we're going to fire you if you can't use AI.
Yeah, I mean, consulting, if they're not bringing their own prices, if they're not taking the Jeff Bezos approach of this, your margin is my opportunity, and not bringing down their prices and like fundamentally changing their model, I think the large consulting groups are ripe for disruption. Now, then again, they also have a ripe opportunity to consult on how to use AI. So I'm sure they're already going to figure out how that works. But when you think about the research they do, when you think about kind of the trend analysis that they do, they are going to, particularly at the entry level, I think where AI and a lot of the tools that are widely popularized now, they do the best job at entry level analyst work. And the reason is that the quality of work from AI is very comparable to a good analyst, but the difference is you get the results back in maximum 1 hour rather than 1 week. So cycle time and velocity on this type of stuff is going to be the first thing to go with AI. So if you're a young person, you need to know how to 10x the velocity of your output like immediately.
And so how do I do that? I'm not a young person, I don't think, but how do I do it? Do I just talk? Do I just talk?
Spoiler.
I don't know. Do I just talk to Grok? Do I talk to ChatGPT? We just covered the research report by OpenAI saying that the majority of how we use ChatGPT is not work related. So how do I increase my output? Again, do I just talk? Do I just start talking to it? Do I take classes? What do I do?
Yeah, I mean, the development has to come from using it in the real world and implementing it in your work, right?
Try it.
And so I had a good conversation with someone last week.
With ChatGPT?
It was a human. It was not a chat app. It was a human. And they made a really good point where they were saying, this was a friend from Tishman Spire, where she was saying, we can't allow our short-term goals to overlook the fact that we do need to train in-house young people on how to use the AI. Because if you don't know the process, if you don't know the business, just using AI in the short term, we're going to have this gap in people who then know the business to oversee the work of AI. Because anyone who's used a chat app knows, you'll just catch some glaring mistakes, very similar to an entry-level employee. So we need to teach them how to manage.
Yep.
We need to teach them how to do inspection of the work and things like that. So I think it's short-sighted to just cut people loose. But this is what happened after the great financial crisis. People our age had to kind of go start a bunch of companies. Entrepreneurship boomed. There was a ton of failure from a company formation perspective and the outcomes of those businesses. But I would say there was a lot of success in teaching that generation of people how to be nimble, how to be critical thinkers. It really replaced a lot of what higher ed has fallen down on.
Yeah, I mean, to me, this just screams, we see the market softening a little bit, and this is the old trick where a lot of companies have done the return to office trick. Yeah, you got to come in 4 days a week, or we're going to fire you. That's an easy way to do layoffs and reduce your workforce without calling it that. And now
You're
you
such a
just
cynic. You're
yeah,
such
that
a
you could just say,
cynic.
well, you got how to use AI, so you're fired.
You're such a cynic. We just really want people sitting at their desks.
We do. You talking to computers?
That's how the Fortune 500 operates.
Talking to computers. I'm going to leave the AI section with this quote. I'll let you react to it. So the chairman of market and investment strategy at JP Morgan said that AI related stocks have accounted for 75% of S&P 500 returns, 80% of earnings growth, and 90% of capital spending growth since ChatGPT launched in November of 2022.
America loves a gold rush, my friend.
Did you hear what I heard?
What did you hear?
Pop goes the bubble.
America loves a gold rush. And shout out to gold rushes. You and I were talking about this. I highly recommend Taylor Kitsch's new show. It's not new, it's end of 2024. American Primeval, about people moving out west. Great show. Great show.
Yeah, I did need to start watching that. Big fan of Riggins from Friday Night Lights back in the day.
He's just looking good too. He's still got it.
I mean, what a gorgeous man.
Aging like a fine wine.
All right, quantum section this week. We're at about 42 minutes, so we're doing good on time. Justin, who's quietly in the background because we couldn't figure out how to hit record today. Thanks, Justin. The quantum section this week. BRICS.
Big week. This is one that I threw in. I feel I've been kind of beating this drum saying,
it plays. We both got the stars and stripes. I wearing mine today. You always got yours behind you, but keep going.
Right on. So a couple of big announcements. BRICS, which is, the consortium of non-Western countries, I'll put it. So it's Brazil, Russia, India, China, and I believe South Africa. And there are other groups involved in BRICS. I believe Iran and some other countries are involved in BRICS. This is the group that has talked about using crypto to hedge off the dollar. There's a lot of misalignment between these countries, but they're trying to align against the West, at least from a leverage perspective, in negotiating their independent positions against the U.S. and her allies. So they announced a Smart Cities Forum held in Moscow this September. So I don't know if it's already happened or if it's happening.
I think it was the 17th and 19th. Yep.
Yeah. So they were focused on AI for, smart city development in emerging markets. They called it the South-South cooperation angle. And, they're all very aggressively pursuing kind of how do you build cities for the future so they compete better globally. And that's kind of the whole impetus for the Quantum City Initiative and how the West needs to be taking this just as seriously as everyone else globally. And China announced a city cluster push. And so their urban planners very much believe that clusters are growth engines. It's like they read the paper. Mm-hmm. We certainly weren't the first ones to come up with that, but they're integrating AI for efficiency on how to cluster people more smartly. And, you think about this from a computing cluster perspective, energy efficiency perspective, but what we always see in clustering is when people are together, economies grow. There's a kinetic energy that has been happening for more than thousands of years. So, our adversaries, if you will, not everyone in BRICS is necessarily an adversary, but our adversaries are taking kind of this urban development push very seriously. And so we think everybody should listen to the show and do the same.
Well, I mean, good thing is, right? And I was listening to some of the All In, which because I wasn't there, I was listening to some of the All In discussions that they were posting from the All In pod. And, this is obviously a mega trend. I will say that our administration is doing their part. They are organizing their own summits. They are focused. David Sachs is focused on a lot of this. I think there's certainly more to be done. But this to me, this is really when you see BRICS Smart Cities Forum, when you see the city cluster push, I forget what our administration at Chumps called his AI forum. We are at an inflection point, and it's not just national. It's not just here in the States. This is a global inflection point on cities and how people will interact with the built world. It's happening and it's going to change.
Yeah, I think the biggest issue we see, and when we published the Quantum City Initiative paper, we got yelled at by people on the left, basically saying that capitalism was evil and this was a capitalist gambit. That was pretty accurate. It very much is a capitalist perspective. I believe in that system and the benefit it has brought to the world. So sure, I'll stand by that one. But we got some flack from, I would say, folks from the MAGA contingent around cities being evil. And I think the administration's done a good job of reinvigorating development, and particularly in the AI factory area. What I'd love to see is it's not going to happen without both sides coming together. You need the right and the left to agree and really be focused on city development, because that's obviously where a majority of our GDP and everyone's GDP comes from. So we got to get alignment on on specifically the city component of it, not just the AI piece.
One more bit of news this week. Two more bits of news this week. We're at the end of the show, the favorite segment of all of you. Little callback here.
Callback. Round tripping. We're round tripping on the show.
Round tripping that ARR. After the Albanian government launched their AI minister, it wasn't well received, maybe, Chase?
Sure doesn't sound like it.
He was pelted with trash. The leader of Albania was pelted with trash for appointing an AI-powered minister. So they're behind. They're behind. They're not in on it.
Diella is a controversial figure. We talked about, I believe, her.
Yeah, she's a she, and again, she rose through the ranks. She was promoted. It didn't just come out of nowhere that she was taking the minister role. She was promoted. She hit her numbers consistently, and that's a true story. And now she's got the top job. People aren't happy about that.
Yeah, and apparently it was bottles and desk clutter that was thrown at the prime minister and his cabinet from members of the other party. So this is some political strife that I think you're seeing everywhere. But Diella already just shaking things up over in Albania.
Love it. One more bit of news this week. This is probably one of the most exciting bits of news that I've seen in all of 2025. And you and I actually saw this movie in the movie theater with our wives.
Right. We did.
Long time ago when it came out. I don't even know when it came out. But Baywatch is back. It's getting a reboot. Fox has given the green light. I believe it's going to be a 12-ep reboot. The original Baywatch aired for 11 seasons. Obviously, was one of the most popular shows ever. It was almost canceled after season 1. I didn't know that. But it's coming back to Fox. Again, this is huge. We don't know. Apparently, they're saying it's a whole new cast. So we don't know if Hoff is going to make an appearance. I hope so. I really hope so. We don't know if Pam's going to be back. We don't know what's going to happen, but the red bathing suits are back. Again, The movie was incredible. I couldn't be. You can tell I'm excited about. I couldn't be more excited about Baywatch making a comeback here.
Yeah, I mean, first, look, I'm in if Efron's in. So from the movie, Zac Efron
I mean, he
was,
was
I
jacked.
mean, electric.
What
The
when he was doing
Fron
that
is, yeah, the Fron's just a winner. So I haven't seen him in much. So hopefully they're getting him. I'm a fan of The Rock. The
he was
movie
just in, so
was,
Efron was just in the news because he was on a yacht with Shaun White's ex. As I follow pop culture quite a bit on Instagram, so Efron was in the news recently.
okay. So maybe he was doing that to start teasing Baywatch. So it's like, look, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. That movie was a hot mess.
Oh my god,
It was a
unbelievable!
just bananas storyline.
Yeah,
Um, I did, I thought it could have been a little more outrageous. But they had Alexandria Daddario at like her height. So if they bring that crew back, I'll give the pilot a watch. But if they try to tinker with it too much, I don't know.
yeah, it's gonna be the most popular show. It's gonna be the most popular show in 26 and 27. When it'll be back, if I had to, go back in time and rethink my career, man, would I love to be a lifeguard in, what is it, Miami? Is that where it is? Miami? Is that where it was?
So after this stint, you'll be a lifeguard and I'll be a farmer.
We got it. One more bit of news, actually, and this one's live off the cuff. Where did you get that shirt? That's a qualified captain shirt. So that's an Instagram handle that I follow of people just driving boats like absolute maniacs. Are you a big qualified captain fan? Where did this come from?
I'll be honest with you. I found this in my closet today. I have never worn this shirt before. Uh, but I found it and I was like, wow, what a great shirt. I should wear this today for the show. So thanks for noticing. I like this.
It's a great shirt. Furthermore, their Instagram handle's hilarious.
Yeah, there's a bunch of stuff on the back that I haven't read yet. So yeah, it's a good shirt.
Good show this week. Switch up the format. Hopefully you guys liked it. Continue to send us feedback. Go to Strata, hqo.com/strata/agenda. I actually don't know if that's a website. But the link will be in the newsletter that we send. The link will be there. It's going to be an incredible event.
I think we only got like 40 slots left. So grab them quick.
Sign up quick. Again, this one's free. It's on us. It's on us.
This one.
Next one's on you guys. We're going to round trip that ARR
Next
soon.
several are on you. Unless you get in the round tripping game, then we can talk.
Unless you get in. Good show this week. By the time this airs, even though US is getting their ass kicked right now in the Ryder Cup, because I can hear it in the background, hopefully we'll come back as champs. That's it for today. Thanks for coming out.
Good show.